What's good, everybody? What's going on, man? It's Stephen Qualls II, aka Mr. Qualified. It's your boy, and we're back with another episode of Qualified TV. Man, I feel like I've done this intro like a million times, so it's even crazy, like going all the way through it. But nonetheless, third time's a charm. Here with a very, very good brother. Y'all will get the pun when we get into the interview. You feel me? But I'll let him introduce himself, and then we'll just hop right into the interview. So let the people know who you are, man.
Yeah, Lorenzo Beach. I'm the owner and creative director of Good People Fashion House. Just excited to be talking to you. Get to talk about my brand.
For sure, of course, man. And so let's just jump right into it. So, Good People Fashion House. Well, it's so much to dive into that, so I don't want to jump into that right away. But when did you know, or what made you begin what you feel like your journey is as a creative?
Yeah, so definitely like around my junior and senior year of college, I was doing a lot more like creative projects amongst my university, amongst my chapter. As you know, we're what I'm saying, we're Sands. So I was just doing a lot of things and exploring a lot of like creative lanes that I hadn't really seen myself in before, and I saw myself like excelling in them and just enjoying it. So like, hey, this is something I can do. I was building up that confidence. I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Like since I was a child, like they just seem like bosses. They get to make their own decision and they're on their own type of time. And I've always loved clothing, so. Towards the end of my senior year, it just kind of made sense to merge those two things, and that's where we're at.
I feel that. Like, was there anything in your childhood that, would you say, you could see the correlation, like when you started kind of having, when that creativity started like really flowing and you started seeing yourself doing certain things or having an interest in certain things, or there's certain things you look back to your childhood and was like, I didn't realize that was a connection or something that I was always tied to, but I see it now.
Yeah, I have like a couple sources of that, that I know that I pulled from. First and foremost, like my brother, he was a huge sneakerhead. My late brother. So he was a huge sneakerhead. Like he worked at Finish Line. He was getting all the retros, you know what I'm saying? That was back then with the retro cards. They would come with the releases. So I was like just so focused on like shoes and knowing the history of the shoes, all the colorways, X, Y, and Z. So that was like my first kind of like introduction into, like fashion itself. And then, as I developed my own style, I started thrifting a lot, you know what I'm saying? Like not having the money for some of the things you desire, but still having the ability to put clothes together and stuff like that. So that, and I used to skateboard too. So, like skateboarding, culture, and fashion, and hip-hop, and all those things kind of merged together, you know what I'm saying? And, like, I don't know, like, all the things that in hip-hop, like, I'm a huge hip-hop head, so I feel like it all plays together well and kind of helps me be creative.
I feel that. I'll never forget, man. Do you remember the shoes, I call them Creative Rec for short, but Creative Recreations, they're kind of like, they're similar to Vans. They're like an in-between of Vans and Chucks. That's the best way I could describe them. I think they came in low and high top. But anyway, I never forget my best friend, shout out Jazz, my best friend, she put me on, and this was around the time, like this might have been my sophomore, maybe junior year of high school, and I'll never forget, it was the mix of like her telling me about those shoes, and I'll never forget the first time like going to a Marshall's and realizing like, oh, I can get Levi's, or I can get the type of jeans I want, or the type of clothes I want that are still like, I was never big on name brand, but still something that's recognizable for a price that was definitely like more affordable than what you see in some of the main stores. And I was just like, oh, so like being fashionable can be affordable.
You don't have to have crazy bread. You can just throw some stuff together. And that's one thing I like about fashion, man. Like you had alluded to, like it's not always about the label. You know what I'm saying? I think fashion is more so of I was just telling someone the other day, like it's a form of communication. You know what I'm saying? Like what am I communicating with these, rips in my jeans, or like my Good People t-shirt? You know what I'm saying? Like I feel I feel fresh. Like I feel good in the clothes that I'm in. So it's never about the money as far as fashion goes. Like it's just about, because you can have on like a $350 hoodie or whatever, I could have on, a similar shaped hoodie that I picked up from Goodwill, and I'll just be wearing it a little better because I feel it a little more. Yeah. Somebody just might enjoy the way I wear it, or maybe not even anyone else. Like, it's not about the bread.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it last time that we was chopping it up, but this idea that the money or the amount that the clothes are worth is what's making you fresh. And we talked about how it's really just about how you wear it, like how you put it on, how you step. Because and that don't even come down to what the piece is and how much it costs. That could be certain color combinations. I know certain people that, and it'll be funny because it's a lot of stuff like, I'll try on and like, of course I want to know like if it look or if somebody else seeing what I'm seeing. Mm-hmm. And like sometimes, people be like, I don't know. Or like some of the homies be like, I don't know. And it's not even that I don't trust their like what they see, but I'm just like, nah, like this could go though. Like I feel confident.
Feel it.
So like if I feel it and I walk around as if I feel it, can't nobody tell me it's not fresh. If I think it's fresh and I'm acting like it's fresh, but I think that so many people are get so caught up, at least from a fashion standpoint, of like, well, no, I got like this cost this much or it has this name. So since it has this name, then it's
automatically stamped as like a solid fit, but it's not always that. And I think sometimes like, especially when it comes to design, if you don't know how to put designer things together, you can come across as tacky. We've seen
very
that,
much so.
You know what I'm saying? We've seen that numerous times. So yeah, man, ultimately it's about like wearing what makes you feel good and like taking some chances. I'm all about shape when it comes to clothing, and like I really like the shape of your, you know what I'm saying? So like sometimes colors don't even matter to me. It's just like, how does this fit? How do these clothes fit on me? You know what I'm saying? What am I conveying right now? Like simple, you know what I'm saying? Like structured, shaped outfits, they don't do much for me, but I like when the shapes are a little irregular. Much like, your vest and things like that. So yeah,
I feel like I've got into that recently. Mm-hmm. The idea of like this just came to my head, but like oversized fitted, right? Sure. So it's like and I guess for me, people been saying it, so I'm just saying what the people been saying. Apparently, I've been in the gym. That's what people been telling me. Right? Apparently, I've been in the gym. Look, I've been in the gym. I'm just saying, people been saying it more than I have, so it is what it is. But now I've noticed that like with my frame, I like the idea, not like super boxy, but I like the idea of something that can hang off me and give a baggy look, but not swallow me.
For sure.
So be fitted in the sense of, like you said, the shape of it, like the way I'm wearing the fit, it makes sense, but it's not something that is like fitted to my full body frame. But like, it's funny because I started wearing crop tops more in the summer, like whether I'm working out or like if I'm just chilling. I don't know if it's something I would necessarily step out in, but like if I'm working out, hooping, lounging, like it's just something that's comfortable. Yeah. And I literally just got asked this morning, like, when did you start wearing crop tops? And I was just like, this summer. I mean, because why not? I like it. But no, I want to ask, when did you know in your head, like, yeah, I can dress? I'll be stepping.
Man, so I feel like, probably like 6th grade-ish.
Okay.
I think my mom is like she used to like ask me for my opinion, and I don't know if she took me seriously, but it did give me the confidence to like, pick certain things out when it came to dressing. So she would have like a pair, like option between 2 pair of shoes. She's like, which one do you like? And I would go with option, and she really wore it. So I'm like, dang, she validated my, opinion. Yeah. And so I feel like that, it's all about confidence when it comes to wearing clothes. So like her validating my opinion, actually choosing to wear the shoes that I picked out made me feel like, oh, I know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And I think in general, like when I wear clothes, like I said, like shape, and sometimes they'll be irregular, like the color, you know what I'm saying? A normal person might not see that, but I have that confidence, you know what I'm saying, in my opinion on fashion, on, clothes in general. So yeah, like around 6th grade, I started to develop my own style. Like I said, the skateboarding thing was huge. So I was like wearing, shoes with like big tongues and stuff like that. And, just trying to do that whole thing. But yeah, man, like I've always, people have always commented like, you dress well. I feel like if I'm being honest, that's why I get some of the opportunity that I get, because people see me, I'm dressed well. It's like, he probably knows what it's like, it's just like it's a good trait to have, to know how to present yourself and to be able to like convey yourself through clothing.
For sure. Would you say it's a compliment that, like, if somebody either asks for your opinion or does or kind of like follows what you say or what you suggest, like if they ask you, do you think that's a compliment, or where does that rank in terms of compliments in regards of fashion for you?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't really like when people ask me my opinion on like clothing, because it's such a personal thing. I want you to feel, you know what I'm saying? Like,
like where what works for you.
Yeah, what does my opinion mean if you feel really fresh in that? You know what I'm saying? So like, we were just talking the other day, someone was asking me like about styling people. Like, I have no desire to style people, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to find out what works for you, you know, just that. I'd rather people feel good in what they are wearing, and like that has nothing to do with me, you know what I'm saying? But it is a compliment. Like, anytime someone wants your opinion on something, obviously they trust you and, you know, they feel like you're going to lead them in the right direction. So, of course, yeah, it'd be a compliment.
Yeah, that's real. I don't know. I don't think I've ever had the desire to style. I think it would be interesting if somebody tried to style me, because I do think that stylists, obviously, when you're working with whoever the person is, it's based off of what they want. So you're just helping them kind of bring a vision to life. But because of the same reasons, I don't think I would ever necessarily want to style somebody else, because if what you like or what your vision isn't something that I would do, it would be really hard for me to bring that vision like together for you. But that's me personally. Yeah. But if somebody was like, hey, I see what kind of style you got, I want to try some things, like I'd be open to that. I'd be open to seeing how somebody would want me to, or would dress me based off of how I dress. Like, I think that's really interesting. But I also have a lot of versatility, and that's actually what I want to ask you about as well. So how important, either to you specifically, or if not, you can answer both, to you specifically and just in general in the world of fashion, how important is versatility, and what do you define as versatility within fashion? Yeah,
so I mean, I don't want to be braggadocious, but I do feel like I have like a lot of versatility, and like right now I'm in ripped jeans. Like later on, I host at a winery, so I'm gonna be, you know, dressed, you know, way more dapper or whatever the case is, and I feel like being that fashion is a form of communication. Sometimes I'm trying to say different things, so I can't always dress the same way. You get what I'm saying? So like that is important. As far as my brand goes, like, man, one thing I hate is like when people are like, oh, you got like a t-shirt brand, or like you sell hoodies. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the way it seems right now. But like in my head and the way I envision Good People going, it's going to be way more versatile than that. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be able to throw on a hoodie, but you're also going to be able to throw on like a really nice, you know, luxury sweater, like some nice track pants that you can like wear to like a, you know, a more so formal event or whatever the case is. So it's fashion. You never want to box yourself into like one look or like one style. You definitely want to keep everything versatile.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think that I've always liked, it's the idea of like when, I mean, they say it for both men and women, but people who can do both, and both is usually just like casual and then professional. But I mean, whether it's casual, like I love like fits like this, like sweats. I love just being cozy. So anything that's like sweatsuits, sweat hoodies, and then I also love layers. So whether it's vests, bomber jackets, denim jackets, any other kind of jackets, like anything over a hoodie, I'm bound to do. You know what I'm saying? But I also could throw jeans on, like the jean boot and like either t-shirt jacket or like sweater combo. I like that feel as well. If we talking suits, love a good suit. You know what I'm saying? But I also like, okay, maybe it's not suit and tie, but it's a suit. I also love a good turtleneck. That might be the outfit of me, sorry. But love a good turtleneck. But even like playing around with a turtleneck, like I saw like it wasn't a super deep V sweater, but it was an H&M. It was this like knitted sweater. The V was a little bit higher, but in my mind, I'm like, if I wore this with some slacks, like, and it was like cream, black, and tan, and like the collar was black. So I was like, if I wore some black dress pants, a black turtleneck with that sweater over it, to me, I'm like, that's fire. That's a hit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But I'm like, that's no suit, that's no tie, and I can still wear that somewhere maybe not formal, but if I was going somewhere where the attire was, call it upscale, call it whatever, like I could pull that off in an arena where we're like dressing to impress.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? So that type of versatility I feel like is really key, and I feel like it's dope that you want Good People Fashion House to kind of, not so much all the things I just explained, but have that versatility of not just a t-shirt, not just a hoodie, but
think of the name, like Good People Fashion House. I was very intentional with that name because I aspire to be a fashion house. Like Louis Vuitton is a fashion house.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Like those are, you know, the type of things that I would want to make eventually. So like I named it Good People Fashion House with aspirations. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to get to this point.
Right.
Like right now you see a t-shirt. You know what I'm saying? But who knows? Like I want to do runway stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, like, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to ask this question before I get into Good People specifically because I don't want to forget. I know of fashion houses, but I don't know the details or the ins and outs of like how a fashion house works or what exactly the purpose it serves past obviously, you know, creating clothes or maybe having shows. So what exactly, at least to your knowledge or what you know, is a fashion house, or what would be like your sentence or two definition for those that don't know?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't either. I don't either. I just know, like, what I've read or what I've seen. Like I said, Louis Vuitton is a fashion house. Like, Gucci is like a fashion house. More like upscale and like couture type things. I'm saying these words that people might not understand. But yeah, it's just like fashion at its highest level. Right. You get what I'm saying? Like, you use the word arena. Like, there's definitely levels to this. So I want to get into that arena. Like,
I feel that.
I want to be playing this game at like the highest level possible. So like I said, like a fashion house, I want to operate, you know, like one.
I feel that. I gotta get into Good People because I'll just keep asking like regular questions and we'll just be having a conversation for an hour. But no, you mentioned that you were very intentional behind the name Good People. You told me this story before, but I want to make sure that people get it. So where did the name Good People come from?
Yeah, so I was like my entire senior year, I was, you know, sketching and just trying to brainstorm on like what would be the best name for my brand, like what can people latch on to. So for the longest, it was like ideas and intentions, and I was just sketching everything. It was like ideas. It was like two eyes, like one eye like this, and then one eye was like flipped the other way. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I'm doing the sketches, but it still didn't feel like this is it. You know what I'm saying? I hadn't like latched onto it all the way. It was just like, well, just do the work now. It wasn't until I graduated and I was staying on campus. I was like a program coordinator or whatever. I had this conversation with Mr. Hoggs. That's my man, Mr. Hoggs. He had just got a pair of like Yeezy 500s, and he had picked them up from this resale shop in St. Louis. And that was the first time I had ever seen a pair of 500s. And I'm like, man, those are nice. You know, he's like a big fashion guy, so we were just, you know, talking about it. He's like, yeah, you should go down to their shop, see what they're about. They're good people. And when he said it, the name clicked. I'm like, good people, like. So I immediately went back to the dorm and I was like, good. Like all the other stuff that I was designing, like went out the window, started working with good people. And then like, you know, even just like the logo with the two people, it just all kind of meshed and it just made sense.
Nah, that's dope. And like, is there a, not double entendre, but like, is there, so outside of like hearing him say that and like saying they're good people, does good people, the phrase, have a double meaning or
it's definitely like a play on words. Like I said, I'm a big hip hop person, so I love like wordplay and, you know, like alliteration or whatever the case is. So like good people, it is a double entendre. Like when you hear someone, like he had mentioned, they're good people. When I hear good people, it's like somebody that I want to be in company with. You know what I'm saying? But like I put my own twist to it. Like good people, it kind of just represents like that person that's, you know, going for theirs. Like you have a dream, you have a goal, like you're going for yours. Like I want to represent that person because that's me. So I try to, you know, embody that through the brand. That's why I'm super transparent with like the development of the brand. Like I want people to see me grow my brand, and I want that to be a source of inspiration. Like, okay, well, he's doing it out of his apartment, you know what I'm saying? He doesn't have an abundance of resources, but you know the work is good, and like you can tell that they're earnest in their efforts. And I want to I want to inspire people like I've been inspired. So that's kind of like the whole good people thing. Like we just, you know, good people is just a group of people. You know what I'm saying? That's really going forward and trying to make the most out of this time we have.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's amazing, and I love when I feel like all brands kind of intend to serve or create community.
Yeah.
But I also feel like for a lot of brands, especially when you're talking about big names or brands that are started by more recognizable or popular people, that the community kind of just comes based off of status. And not saying that that's bad, like that's not good, bad, right, or wrong. That's just the reality. Like if you have a following or if you're a celebrity and you start a line, there will be people that even if the clothes aren't like the greatest, because they want to have a piece of you or be able to represent you as a celebrity, they'll get it. But I think with a lot of people that start out young, especially in clothing, or start out early, I don't want to necessarily say young, but start out relatively early without that type of status, it's really hard, you know, to get people to feel like they're a part of something or they're a part of what you're doing. So I feel like that's really dope that you have that aspect of it or want that to be an aspect of it. It's also funny what you said about the name, and that's how it typically always goes. It's like you'll think for days, weeks, months, years on end on a name, and then you'll just hear it in the most random, unpredictable conversation, and like that's it. Because that's how I got qualified. I was thinking of every other word that started with a Q and had the idea of like quality in it. I was thinking of these long phrases like quality over quantity. It was just a lot, bro. I don't even know where I was going. But I was actually having a conversation. Shout out Mason Her. I would shout him out. He was a year younger than me, and we was in some class in my senior year of high school, and I was just going through stuff, just talking about it. And he was just like, "What if you just do like qualify with like 2 L's?" And in the same way, it's like, yeah, that's it. We're gonna go with that. And literally haven't really looked back from a name and kind of branding standpoint since then. So usually
it's a fire name. I really like it. Like
appreciate that.
It's concise. It makes sense. Being that your last name is Qualls, like I really like the name.
Yeah, I love that when it kind of clicks. I always get that. I did. Yeah, you know, cool. But even then, like the name piece, like that came together. But it only makes sense if you know the story. Sure. So like if you know the story and because it still has the meaning of the actual word with 1 L. It's still based off of that. Yeah. It's just
they would have to know you for it to come full circle.
Yeah, and so that's the tough part. But more so back to good people. So when you started out, and when I say started out, more so I mean like where you were developing, like you got the name and you're developing what your first line, close would be. What was that process like? And what was the journey of, okay, got the name, now I'm working on this first line of clothing to the actual release and then the reception of that?
Yeah, so like entrepreneurship and designing is crazy because there's so much you don't know. Especially, I didn't go to school for this stuff, so I learned everything as I go. So it was just a lot of uncertainty. It was a lot of trial and error, still a lot of trial and error. So just like, making the designs and, having an idea and then, you just use what you have. So like we have the internet, you get what I'm saying? So like do your Googles, like jump on YouTube, like Reddit forum. I'm a big Reddit forum person because those people in those Reddit forums are so honest and like they're going to tell you exactly what it is. So it was just like a lot of research, just like get this idea out, whether it be a hoodie or a t-shirt, like you're like, how can I get this idea onto this garment and then, see if people like it to make money. So it was just like, just a lot of discovery, you know what I'm saying? I think that's one thing I really like about being an entrepreneur and a creative. Like I'm always learning something to enhance my prowess, whether that be like business or like creatively, like it don't stop, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm always having to, even unlearn certain things. Like we were talking about earlier, like when I first started Good People, I was using my personal money. Like I done put thousands into my brand because I care about it that much. But like learning like, no, business credit is the way to go. Like, you need to obtain that. You need to be using OPM, like John Kennedy and all them stuff. Like, you need to be using other people's money to kind of like make this thing make sense, like fiscally. So yeah,
no, and that's like I was telling you when we were talking about that. I think that's such a big piece, and it's such a key piece because a lot of people just don't have it, and I think that's the thing when you again going back to the status piece. And I don't want to make that seem like that's extremely important or something to be envious of. But when you don't have the recognition or the status for people to just buy or support off principle, it's really hard because I don't think a lot of people realize that, to put content together, like if I don't want to be the person doing every single thing, or if I literally don't have the time, like somebody has to like help in editing that. Or if I want to be more efficient and like actually take advantage, somebody has to help me with marketing and making sure things go up in socials and like the understanding of the analytics side, like we're making the most of that. And there's always a balance that comes with that, but it also still always falls on you. So it's one of those decisions where, like you said, it's like, unless I'm in a place where I can comfortably do so, it makes absolutely no sense to continue to extend, my personal resources and essentially, bleed myself dry.
No, that's not. That's not how business. I mean, like I said, it's just learning. Like, that's not how businesses thrive. Not good businesses.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? From conversations I've had with mentors or whatever. Like, that's that piece. You know what I'm saying? You need to be able to leverage your credit to get the things that you desire, the resources for your company, for your brand, whatever, and then be able to earn some revenue that way. Like. And those are the things that we're not taught because our parents don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're learning, and I always like give, our parents, like that generation, like a lot of grace because they just did what they knew best. But we're fortunate, like I mentioned earlier, like we have the internet. Like, someone can give you the game, in a YouTube video, and it's just up to you to apply it. So, and that's another thing too. Like, I love that we're in a time where no one's hoarding information. I hate when people have like resources or knowledge and they're like stingy with it. Like, no, give it away. Like, that's that scarcity mindset. But like, we operate in an abundance mindset. Like, just because you have it doesn't mean that I won't have it, or like your success doesn't mean my failure. So obviously, I'm gonna tell you or teach you what I've learned so that you can be successful too. Yeah.
So you brought up scarcity mindset, and that's actually crazy because earlier this week I was having a conversation about nepotism, and specifically nepotism in our community, in the Black community. And I feel like we are the only community, race, whatever, that doesn't practice nepotism, that doesn't want to pay it forward.
I'm all for nepotism.
Yeah,
for the record.
No, of course. And I guess the thing is, and it even goes back to, you go back to your point about generations too. So you said you give the generation before a lot of grace, and I feel like that's big. And a lot of our generation doesn't do that because I think we get so caught up in what we're experiencing. And I feel like both generations have that. Like my mom is from a generation that is drastically different from ours for a lot of different reasons. And so there is this idea that a lot of things that we find important, like she'll call me all the time and be like, what is the point of putting everything on social media? Why y'all just putting all your business out there? And I'm like, honestly, like, I say I don't know because there's a part of me that doesn't understand why we indulge so much, but also like it's just here. Like, we just have access to it. So it's literally our generation has grown up with technology. So it's ingrained into our daily life. It's not something we necessarily go out of our way to make routine because it just is for us. But even more so to the nepotism point, it's just like, I feel like generations before us have this idea that you all have to work just as hard as we did, or else you're going to take it for granted. And I can't fault them for that because there are people, or, in general, depending on how you're raised or your upbringing, like that can affect that. But ultimately, there's always going to be a chance that somebody isn't appreciative of you making something easier for them, right? But that also doesn't, if it doesn't hurt you, and I think that's the biggest thing. If we just talk about information, we just talking about giving people gems, keys, it don't hurt you to do that. Like, it don't hurt you to share something that, but I think that's where the nepotism piece comes in and people get caught up because they don't want it like, they're like, oh, if I tell you this, or if I get you the chance to do this and you don't have to, play the long game or go through the reins like I did,
man.
then
I think that's if I'm being honest, I think that's a black thing.
Yeah.
I think like other races don't subscribe to that understanding. I feel like if I build up Good People Fashion House and I just decided to give it to my daughter and my son, like, I'm all for that. You get what I'm saying? Because that's what I'm doing it for. It's like a legacy thing. Like, obviously I would want to give it to someone in my family that I love and trust, as opposed to like, someone that just might see it for a money grab or whatever the case is. So that's what I was saying earlier. Like, I'm all for nepotism, God willing. Like, when I decide, because I see this being a big thing. So like, when I decide to, not do this anymore, I hope that I have a son or a daughter that I could just give my company to. Like, that's what it's about to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, generational wealth. What Jay-Z said, generational wealth, that's the key. My parents ain't had shit, so that shift started with me. Like, I hear those kind of things and I embody that, or I try to live that out because it's important to me. Like, why make the next generation struggle because you struggle? You know what I'm saying? To like prove a point of like, oh, you have to have grit, you have to have determination. Like, yeah, you can teach people those lessons in a different type of way, while also giving them like a better grade of living.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you completely. And I don't really understand it either. I don't know why specifically for us, we've
been indoctrinated with so much, like, I don't want to call it foolishness, but we've just been, given a whole lot of stuff, and we're trying to navigate, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I said earlier, like, I give our parents' generation and even the people before them like a lot of grace because they just did what made sense in that moment, you know what I'm saying? But we're in a different time now. Like, the game has changed, you know what I'm saying? So it's up to us to take advantage.
Do you feel like you've experienced that wherein, like, I know my mom is one of my biggest supporters, don't get me wrong, but there's definitely been times where she's asked in the best way that she knows how, like, how is this going to be something that helps me financially? So, like, yes, I see what you're doing, I get why you're doing it, and I love that. But, like, is it doing anything? Is it making money? Is it making money? Is it doing anything for you? Is it helping you around the court? Whatever, And it's hard because it's a valid question. I'm not mad at the question, but it's hard because it's such a long game. I don't feel like I've gotten it from her specifically, but do you feel like you've experienced that where people have maybe looked at you, trying to build a fashion house and they're like, man, that just doesn't seem like a sustainable thing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm my own, like, if it makes sense to me, that's all that matters. Yeah. And one thing I will say, like, my parents have always given me the support I feel like that I've needed. They don't understand fashion. They don't understand design. Like, my dad's from Gary, Indiana, and my mom's from Wichita, Kansas. Like, fashion isn't really a thing. Like, my mom dressed well and my dad dressed well, but it's like, they don't really look at fashion the way I do. Like, this is a lifestyle. You get what I'm saying? But, like, no, I feel like sometimes I'm my only person that's like, does this make sense? You know what I'm saying? Like, I know I could jump into a corporate lane and be way more, financially stable. Like, it is what it is, you know what I'm saying? Like, but that's not how I desire to live. Like, that's not how I see my life being. So I'm okay with taking the long road, you know what I'm saying? Because I know at the end of the day, I'm going to be much more fulfilled. Like I had mentioned earlier, like, entrepreneurship, I've always wanted to do that because they set their own schedules, you know what I'm saying? They don't work for nobody. They're not clocking in and, being told when they can take vacations and stuff like that. Like, that's how I want to live. So I know that it's going to take a little more time, but I'm willing to put in the effort and, you know, be patient in this pursuit, because ultimately it's what I want, it's what I desire.
Yeah, nah, I mean I definitely understand. Want to hop back to Good People for a little bit.
Yeah.
Man, y'all, brain fart. It happens. But no, so after the first line drops, after it's received really well, I'm still, man, I got my shirt, but I feel like I grew out the shirt. So, but I got the other shirt.
In the gym.
Yeah, but I got another shirt that's still rocking right now.
Yeah.
So I'm just waiting to get my next hoodie. You feel me?
For sure.
That's on me. It's gonna come soon. But no, so after that first line, I don't want to say to this point, but what was the next step, or what was the next phase you feel like for Good People Fashion House after that first line drop? Because is that when you moved, or was there a little bit of time in between it?
Yeah, so I had moved I had dropped the clothes in December because I did the photo shoot at my parents' house.
Okay.
And then that very next month I moved here to Chicago. So
Okay.
I didn't have a job or anything. Like, I just packed up all the Good People items I had and like all my personal belongings. I just moved to Chicago. So next was, I mean, it was just like a lot of, I was making money and I didn't know what to do with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just didn't know what to do with it. I knew I didn't want to blow it on like personal, you know, like myself, but
Yeah.
I didn't know like, okay, you know, I didn't know to get ready for your next drop. Like, put some bread aside so that you can restock, because my stuff ended up selling out. And then like, I'm like, oh dang, now people want stuff and I don't have it on hand. You know what I'm saying? So after the first drop, it was like good. I'm glad that it was received well, because it allowed me to again gain confidence. Like, okay, people gonna gravitate towards this. But it was just like, dang, you just don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
and I'm still in that phase now, like just trying to figure things out. I'm obviously much further along than I was, but it's still like a lot of things to consider. I manage a team at this point. There's 4 of us in total, so, you know, trying to, you know, do that thing, like be the best leader I can be and try to navigate this journey with others. You know what I'm saying? So,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. How I'm glad you brought that up. How is managing a team? And more specifically from the perspective of like you starting this by yourself, like you putting a lot of your own money into it, managing a team that you want and expect to see and be able to create, fulfill, bring to life in whatever capacity your vision. How is that? You know, what's the balance of, obviously it's a benefit and it's helpful, but are there aspects of it that are frustrating or annoying, and not so much that the people are or make you feel that way, but like I said, the balance of trying to have people like in your head, or even trying to figure out how to communicate things in a way that makes sense to them so they can do, you know, what you expect them to do.
Yeah, I love having a team, and I love everyone that's on the team. Like, they know that. I'll tell them that. It is difficult though, because I'm a very particular person, especially when it comes to like visual things. And they've learned that, and they've grown to appreciate that, or at least I hope they appreciate it, because I'm just trying to get us ready for like a bigger audience. I always tell them like, you practice how you play.
Yeah.
So we have a small audience right now, but you know, one day it's going to be millions and millions of people. So the small things that we're doing right now, they're going to translate when we have more eyes on us.
Absolutely.
But managing a team is good. They keep me in check. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've always been one of those people, I say exactly what it is, but maybe I don't say it the best way, so I might ruffle some feathers. So having a team, I don't want to be in contention with them. You know what I'm saying? So they force me to sometimes just like step back. How do I want to convey this so that I get my point across, but the other person doesn't feel slighted in my delivery? I'm a very passionate person. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes my passion like overrides what it is I'm trying to say. So all that, but managing a team is great. Like, you have to be that leader. You have to be confident. If things aren't, you know, going the best, you still have to like be that person. Like, no, it's cool. Like, even if we don't have crazy cash flow coming in, like you still have to have the confidence and the vision to, you know, guide a team and, like I said, navigate this journey.
Yeah, I mean, you never think about doing it alone, I feel like, but I don't know if you, like when we start out as like entrepreneurs in any sense, I don't know if we ever think about the definitely not burden. That's not the word, but the responsibility of like I would love a team, but it's just a lot of responsibility because you are responsible for making sure that they know what you want, what they need to do, and what's the best way to get that done. And there being a balance of knowing that your way may not always be the best way, but also that it's still kind of everything, no matter what, everything still has to come through you. Like ultimately you are the decision maker, which is a huge responsibility in itself. But then when you add the balance of like, okay, we have to take A, B, and C consideration into said decision, then it's like, all right, well, that's a lot more thinking. Yeah. Just going off my own. But I mean, yeah, and I'll never forget, man. It's been something that's been sticking with me too. The last time we talked over the phone, and what you said in regards to not everybody having the luxury of being emotional. It really, in that conversation, man, that really stuck with me because I feel like if you can apply it to entrepreneurship, but even just really in life, like, and I didn't take that as people not having the capacity or ability, because you are human, you will feel things, but the luxury of being able to feel things and sit in them and that not have a detrimental effect to what you're trying to do. Not everybody has that.
Not when you're sitting in the leadership role. Like it's just not that, because I mean, I don't want to over explain it, but sometimes I feel like I have to suppress certain emotions of mine for the sake of my team. You know what I'm saying? Like me being emotional and acting out and spazzing out how I really want to and how I really feel, like that's not going to be productive for what we have going on. But like, other people might have more leeway with that. You know what I'm saying? When you're a leader, your responsibilities and your expectations are just a little different than everyone else. Yeah. And you have to understand that. And that's one thing I'm still learning. Like, it's not always going to be fair. You are going to do a bulk of the work. You know what I'm saying? But you're the leader. Like, you literally signed up for this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I definitely feel that. Good People Fashion House has been around for 4 years now. Going on 5, close to 5, is it?
Nah, so like I said, I had released the clothes like December of 2018.
Okay.
So like, what is it like? But it really feel like I started in 2019. So like 3-ish, 4-ish years, whatever. Yeah.
How do you feel about where you all are right now?
I feel really strong. Like I was saying earlier, like it's the whole practice how you play thing. I think right now we're definitely in a grind season. Like ain't nothing pretty as of yet, but we are starting to get more looks. We're starting to get more attention. We are building community, and I think we're implementing practices that when we are able to like scale at a larger rate, there'll be things that are like, well, we were doing this back when we didn't have the crazy audience. So I like where we're at now. We're really intentional about a lot of the things that we do. We adhere to a lot of like policies just amongst ourselves. So it's like I said, just getting ready for that next step when it comes. They say, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So I feel like that's where we're at as a team, as a brand.
For sure. What's your personal favorite thing? And if favorite and best are different, then make that distinction. Yeah. But what is your either favorite and or best thing you feel like Good People Fashion House has done up to this point? Whether that can be anything. It doesn't have to be limited to like a clothing piece or anything like that.
Yeah. So my favorite like kind of moment or experience that Good People has had is like our first pop-up shop. Like solely Good People. We weren't a vendor or anything like that. I had this idea. I was living in a studio out in Roseland. That's a neighborhood out here. And it was like, really modest. You know what I'm saying? It was my first place I lived when I moved to Chicago. So I had this idea like, well, if you do a pop-up shop, I'm big into storytelling. That's like a big word that everyone says now, like, oh, we're storytelling. But I'm genuinely telling my story, like in real time. So I wanted to bring people into, how I lived and, what I was experiencing as an entrepreneur, as a creative, as a designer. So I'm like, get in a space and recreate your apartment or your studio, you know what I'm saying? And I had the vision for it. It didn't make an abundance of sense. I was ripping and running all throughout Chicago, like getting furniture and, you know what I'm saying, just trying to make this experience, what was in my head, like bring it to life. And it happened, and people came down like from Missouri, or like I had some people come down from Texas just to kind of like support me. You know what I'm saying? It was beautiful. Like it was, yeah, that was my favorite experience because I had a vision and it was executed, and I was able to tell my story, and people appreciated that. Yeah.
Yeah. Nah, that's real. What would you say is maybe not worst moment, but what's something that you look at, and I'm not sure if you're a person that believe in like regrets or not, but what's something you wish, like what's something you really wish that you could kind of try again or do differently?
Yeah, I had man, and I still get like emotional about it. Not like sad, but more so like frustrated. You know what I'm saying? And I think eventually those emotions will transition to something more of understanding. But I was dealing with this manufacturer. I won't say any names or anything, but I dropped a lot of bread. You know what I'm saying? And I'll just say like they mismanaged me as a customer. You know what I'm saying? Like I put up a lot of my personal money, like I had said earlier, and it was just like a bad experience to the point where I was like, man, do I really want to do this? I was having conversations with my sister, like just like really sad. I remember crying at one point because it was like a lot of bread, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Especially for someone that doesn't have it, but you just have the passion. So, but in that, I've already learned some lessons. I feel like there's still more to be learned, but like my brother always says, like there's no such thing as a loss, like everything's a lesson. So it was definitely one of those experiences. In retrospect, in hindsight, I wouldn't deal with that manufacturer. But yeah, and then like certain things need to happen. Like I was green to a lot of things, you know what I'm saying? Like you just need to know you're dealing with, especially in like a fashion industry, and you need to make sure that your people are reputable, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm big on referrals at this point. Like I need to know that you worked with somebody whose opinion I trust before maybe I give you a chance, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm not just going up to like random people off a Google search like, hey, can you make this for me? Like referrals are big, you know? So yeah, it's lessons and experiences. You know, I'll tell this story in like 5 years, and you know what I'm saying? Good people be worth like however much money. Like, yeah, that had to happen, you know what I'm saying?
For sure. No, I agree that along the way, I mean, I'm pretty sure most people know or understand that there will be bumps along the road, but I don't think sometimes people really maybe internalize isn't the word, but I don't think they fully understand like you gotta have some L's that hurt for sure. Like that bad for sure. Like they have to. I feel like if you've heard any athlete speak about, you know, what winning a championship felt like 9 times out of 10, whether you're an athlete that it took a while to get a championship or you won a championship right away but then there was a gap, it's like one, the process of getting there in terms of success for anybody, you always get to that place, and just because basketball is the quickest thing I can think of, the analogies, how many times have we seen athletes get to semifinals or the conference finals year, 2, 3 years in a row before they actually get over that hump and get to the finals, and they still gotta win the finals. Right. So it's like, you know, you're gonna have some L's along the way that's like, man, a shot, you know, a turnover, whatever I would want back that may have changed the course of the game. So in the sense of entrepreneurship, it's like you might have that time where you let some bread go and it's like to get nothing back.
I tell you what too, like those moments tell you what you can endure. You know what I'm saying? Like, absolutely. What's your capacity for a loss? Like, how much are you willing to withstand? And it lets you know how much you really believe in what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? If I were to crumble after that situation that transpired, I didn't love this like I said I did. You know what I'm saying? I'm not really pursuing this how I said I did. It'll show you where you're at and whether or not, you know, you're really about what you say.
For sure. 5 years from now, ideally, where's Good People Fashion House? Yeah,
so my biggest thing is like, I'm trying to take over Chicago because that's where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? I want to be established as like the premier like streetwear brand out here because I feel like there's a lot of opportunity for that out here as far as fashion goes. Like I could definitely see, you know, there are some names that like, you know, people associate with Chicago, and I'm not a native, so I think it's like, it's interesting that I'm, you know, pursuing, I want to be the best, I want to be that guy out here. So, you know, 5 years time is definitely like, dang, this brand, I'm not a Chicago brand, I don't want that ever confused, but this brand that's in Chicago, like, you know, they have like national attention or whatever, and then I want to transition, like, just keep expanding. But as far as the brand goes, I really want to get into more cut and sew pieces, and people might not understand what that is. It's not your hoodie, it's not your t-shirt, it's not, you know, socks or whatever. It's like designs that I've made, like that I see for myself, different shapes and things that I see, you know, in real time, you know what I'm saying? I think one cool thing about design is like you can have an idea, and I would say it's like 2D, you know what I'm saying? It's 2D in your head, and then like when you get the product, it's like 3D. Like that transition is super cool to me. But yeah, I just want to develop my prowess as like a designer, and you know, just really like beef up the business side of things. In 5 years, I really don't know what that looks like. You know, admittedly, I just kind of want to know what kind of status and what kind of resources I want to have at that point. You know what I'm saying? But yeah.
For sure, I feel that. I definitely think it would be dope to see a collection of pieces that are like yours, like that are you, like that are specific. Like I can already see like certain sweaters, like I don't know if you a huge jacket type of person, but I can just see you having like certain pieces, and it may be limited, but it's like these are pieces that are like straight from me. Yeah, you know,
these are products of my brain. Like we've seen a hoodie pattern, you know, however many times, and it's even cool now. We're getting to see like different interpretations on the hoodie. Obviously, like Kanye with, you know what I'm saying, like the Gap. I just saw one of those Gap hoodies the other day, and it's like the shape was just beautiful. Like it was like perfectly baggy. You know what I'm saying? But you know, when you have like different sort of resources, like you're able to make those type of things. You don't have to do like the standard hoodie or the standard T-shirt. So I'm definitely trying to get on that level. Like this is how I want this to fit on you, or you know what I'm saying, the customer.
For sure. But yeah, so we've talked about everything, man. I mean, it's always good conversation, but you know, I gotta ask the final question. Gotta ask the question that everybody gets. Man, we talked about everything from your early beginnings, just like getting started with fashion, just understanding the culture. Really, I mean, you talked about like, you know, skateboarding and just being engulfed in all these things that play a role in the fashion culture. And I'm not even sure, I feel like fashion, hip hop, like all that, I'm trying to figure out what we really consider that culture to be, or what we call it. I feel like we have like a word for it, and it's slipping my mind right now. But nonetheless, the background in that, the trials and tribulations of starting your own brand and being an entrepreneur, and then the goals you have for it, which I don't consider lofty, but it's almost inspiring to see somebody want to create something that you don't see a lot of people aiming to do. Like I don't know how many black people I'm talking to that's like, yeah, I want to create a fashion house. Like you know, like Louis Vuitton or Gucci. So what makes you, you know, as the creator, and then what makes your brand itself qualified?
Yeah, so as far as me personally, like again, I don't have a background in this. I'm learning as I go, but I give it like earnest effort. You know what I'm saying? Like I sleep well at night knowing that day I gave it everything I had. So you know, that in general makes me qualified. You know what I'm saying? I'm going for something that I genuinely want to do. I'm not settling for what might be the easiest or might be the quickest. So yeah, that makes me qualified. I really like that aspect of myself. Like I'm giving this 110%, you know what I'm saying? So that like when I have children and I tell them that they can do anything that they want to do, like it won't be a cliche statement. Is like, no, I'm a testament to that. You can really do anything you want to do if you set your mind to it. My dad told me that, and I really believed it. You know what I'm saying? Like I've embodied that since I first heard it. So I think that's what makes me qualified. As far as my brand goes, like my brand is just a direct extension of me. You know what I'm saying? So like everything that we're doing, like it's raw, it's real, like it's in real time. It's no facade. We don't have all the answers, we don't have like all the resources, but we're making it happen because, you know, this is something that we really want to do. And I hope that when people see me or see the brand, that they can feel the passion. You know what I'm saying? They can feel the hunger. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's real, man. I feel like every brand is a direct extension of somebody for the most part. But I think it's really interesting in your case where you've talked about the brand and your purpose for it, its intention, even the name.
Mm-hmm.
I think all of that does really serve as a true, direct, genuine extension from you, because everything that you talk about, that you've done or that you've experienced, you are the person that like that your brand is for, like all other people that have had those experiences. And I think that that's really dope, and I think that that's not the thing that people get to see when, you know, they see a new drop, or when they see just the business operating. They don't understand how much of it is like, like I'm putting my entire self and story into the clothes, into the way it's being pushed out, into every aspect of this, and it takes a lot. So yeah, man. But man, third time's a charm. Finally got it done.
I appreciate
Finally
you.
got it done. Of course, man. Anything you want to have the people look out for, pay attention to? Shout out any pages that may be necessary.
Definitely follow the brand. Keep up with us and what we're doing. Like we had said earlier, like I really plan to take this as far as it can go. So I'd be honored if who's ever watching this, like you just experience the journey, and just kind of see where I take it.
You heard the man. Until the next interview, I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.